Hello, boys soccer fans across the tri-state. Welcome to Varsity Letters, our varsity boys soccer edition show on MSGVarsity.com and MSG Varsity channel 614. I am your host, Kevin Devaney Jr. We're going to go around the entire tri-state and hit on the scene in boys soccer. We're going to talk about Long Island, New Jersey, Hudson Valley, Connecticut, and of course, New York City. We're going to release our MSG Varsity 614 tri-state polls, our top 11 teams in the entire tri-state. We're going to have on our Hudson Valley boys soccer expert, Isaac Cass. We're going to start out here in Long Island with a big matchup this past week. You know, in the preseason, we talked so much about Brentwood, nationally ranked, so much expectations, and then they lost their second game of the season to East Islip. Well, Brentwood has bounced back pretty strong, and again, they are headed to the postseason. A 2-1 win over Ward Melville on Tuesday. Roberto Ventura scored in the 71st and 79th minute to get the road victory. Jose Serna, terrific in net yet again. He had 7 saves in the win over Ward Melville. The Indians clinched their 18th consecutive postseason berth with the win, really coming through since that overtime loss to East Islip. 9 shutouts this season, and Brentwood is rolling along, and they are going to be the team to beat in Long Island and maybe even in New York State. After the game, we talked with some of the players from Brentwood about bouncing back.
Coming into this game, I had it in head that we had to come in and win it. We had to bring it big to the playoffs, bring Brentwood in. Hey, it'll be a sin if we don't go in. We suffered 2 losses against Colmac and East Islip, and that brought us down a little in the rankings. But with this win and the boys putting pressure on, doing their job, me doing my job, my cousin scoring 2 goals today, it was perfect.
Jose Serna, we mentioned, being so good in net. Well, Brentwood may be a favorite out in Long Island, and a team that's going to be a sleeper in the Hudson Valley, maybe R.C. Ketchum. You know, up in Dutchess County, so much talk about Arlington defending state champions, and of course John Jay's Fishkill, a perennial power. But R.C. Ketchum may be the team this season that's come on, and last week they knocked off John Jay's Fishkill, a 6-1 victory after losing to John Jay's Fishkill earlier in the season. They may be the biggest threat to Arlington in Class AA outside of perhaps Mamaroneck, we're going to talk about later in the show. Ketchum now 8-2 on the year. They lost later in the week to Arlington, a 1-0 double overtime defeat. Jordan Bishop, Brendan Smith playing so well. We mentioned we're going to talk to Isaac Cass later on about teams to beat in Section 1 and Class AA, and R.C. Ketchum going to have to be in that mix. And Ketchum, we spoke with some of the players after their win over John Jay's Fishkill, and they feel confident going into the second half.
We just came out more intense and won 50-50s. And we just played our hearts out, beat them at home.
Definitely a big confidence booster. Playing home really helped us our field. We had a lot of good finishes, especially on free kicks.
Ketchum streaking a team that you could pencil in New Jersey. One of the top 5, maybe top 3 teams in New Jersey is Ramapo. Well, they lost for the first time since 2011. They losing last week. They were upset 4-2 by Bergenfield. And Bergenfield's a very good team, but they had never beaten Ramapo until that matchup. And so Ramapo falls from the ranks of the unbeaten. They're still in the MSG Varsity New Jersey poll. Go on MSGVarsity.com and check out the New Jersey top 10 rankings for boys soccer. But Ramapo, the resume they've had over the past year and a half since their last loss, when that last loss was in the 2011 Bergen County tournament, they had rattled off 31. There were 33 consecutive games of unbeaten. They were 31-0-2 in that span. They won the New Jersey Independent Group 3 title in 2011, and then they came back in 2012, and they shared that championship with Princeton of New Jersey. And the run ends, but Ramapo has bounced back a couple of wins since losing to Bergenfield, and in that defeat against Bergenfield, Walter Lasco had 3 goals for Bergenfield in that victory. We move now to New York City, a team that hasn't lost this season and doesn't look to be losing anytime soon. That being Mott Haven. They're rolling to open this season, undefeated entering Monday's meeting with Alfred E. Smith. It was in a monsoon, you can barely tell in the video, but it was pouring rain in this one. Didn't really seem to affect Mott Haven much. Edison Castillo, a free kick goal, made it 4-0. Emmanuel Sakir scored off a rebound, and Mott Haven wins that game 11-2 to improve to 10-0 in PSAL play. And Mott Haven very confident as well heading into the final stretch.
We try our hardest, practice every day, hard work, and it's definitely paying off now.
We did a lot. We came from last year from losing in the playoffs. Now, we're back on our way to the playoffs. Hopefully, we win everything this year.
We go now up to Connecticut. So much parity in the state of Connecticut, and especially in the FCAC, and teams jostling for postseason burst, two of them being Wilton and Norwalk. They met on Tuesday in an FCIAC matchup, and not much decided because the two teams fighting to stay in the mix. Wilton, Norwalk goalie Tyler Dalton, a beautiful save there. He's only a sophomore, going to be a good one. Wilton was up 1-0. Norwalk came and ties it. Anthony Hernandez finds the net. A 1-1 final is where it stands. And Norwalk and Wilton, they're in the mix here in the FCIAC. We're going to check out the FCIAC boys soccer standings through Tuesday's games. Greenwich and Staples tied at the top there with 8 wins apiece and 1 tie, 25 points. Stanford, Ludlow, and Ridgefield vying for top 3 or 4 seeds. Wilton, as we just mentioned, right there at number 6. Fairfield Ward at number 7. And West Hill and Danbury tied for that 8th spot. And if you see in the bottom, Staples traveling to Greenwich on Saturday, 3 p.m. and for what could be the biggest game of the season in the FCIAC. Well, back into boys soccer in the Hudson Valley. We talked about Ketchum before. So many teams in the mix here and going to be vying for a championship consideration as we head down to the final stretch. And join me now to talk about that and so much more from MSGVarsity.com. Isaac Cass, he joins us via Skype from his house in Austin. Isaac, thanks for joining us and sitting through that first part of the show. How's everything going?
Pretty good, Kevin.
Excellent. Well, let's jump right in here. And you went to a match on Tuesday, and I said we're going to go see Lakeland, and figured it would be a Lakeland victory, and it wasn't. An upset. Yorktown upsetting Lakeland. Were you a little surprised?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a huge upset, but those crosstown rivals always play really, really close games, and this was another one. Yorktown wins 3-2, and 9 of the last 11 have been decided by a single goal. Yorktown had nice goals, real quality, and they're kind of a sleeper heading toward the AA playoffs.
They're a sleeper. Lakeland in Class A. Where is Lakeland now going into the final stretch?
I think Lakeland's fine. They're an A, so they're going to be in the mix. And Coach Oran's one of the best tacticians in the game, so he'll have his team ready to play.
Back to Class AA for a moment. We talked last week about Mamaroneck in depth, and are you? I don't want to say you're surprised at what they've done, but are they even better than people imagine? Maybe better than people think.
Yeah, well, they're a ton better than I thought they'd be. Nick Tunick's emergence. He played academy last year, but he came back this year. He has 16 goals in 11 games. So you put that on a team, they're gonna be pretty good.
And Nick Tunick, and there's not been many kids that have come back after the new academy rules that prohibit kids from playing in their high school team. He comes back. Does he maybe open the door for other kids to come back in the future?
I mean, yeah, there's always a chance. You never know. I'd say it depends what your college situation is, because I think a big draw for academy is with kids in college.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the college books.
100%. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that dynamic goes moving forward. We want to talk about surprise teams. Did you imagine Spring Valley at this point, and now almost the middle of October, would be the best team in Rockland County?
No, I don't think anybody did, but Coach Ryan Mark has done a fantastic job with them. They have, 3 highly skilled guys in Ruben Michael, Carleo Simon, and Kevin Quinto, and they have a real good goalie in Michael Markeen. So I think they're going to be in the mix in AA, and they could, pull some upsets in sectionals as well.
Yeah, they're right on that fence of being an A school and Class AA school. And how much does this change things now with them going to AA? Well, we can talk about that at another time. Let's check now at our Section 9 teams. And now the landscape is Section 9. We know about Monroe and Woodbury, but what other teams right now are out there in consideration?
I think Wallkill's been a huge surprise. They upset Washingtonville, a huge AA powerhouse, 5-0 on Saturday. They have a standout sophomore striker in Sean Cray, and he's kind of leading them this year. And I think Wallkill could, be poised to win their first Class A title since 2004.
Yeah, Wallkill, they're undefeated. I think we thought they could be good, but maybe not this good. Of course, in Class B, we have Spackenkill, Ellenville, Rhinebeck, kind of an open race in Class B. And I think the same can be said. SS Seward is going to be the team to beat in Class C. Chester O'Neill also have played good soccer. Speaking of good soccer, MSGVarsity.com, you can watch live cast this week. Byram Hills going to take on Portchester. Isaac, you've circled this game in the preseason?
Yeah, this is always a huge match. It's actually a rematch of last year's Class A final, with the twist this year being that Portchester's in AA. So it should be interesting. Portchester's slumping a little, and Byram Hills, might be in there, to try to get revenge. And I think, this is their time to strike right now.
Yeah, it really won't say too much about either team, but I think Byram Hills wants to go out there and knock off Portchester after last season. You think Byram Hills is the best team in Class A in Section 1?
Right now, I think you'd have to say they are. They have a great goalie in Jack Weitzman. They have a top finisher in David Lax. So right now, without a doubt, yep.
MSGVarsity.com. Check out Byram Hills, Portchester. That game on Thursday. You can watch it live. Isaac Cass, you will be there tweeting it, I assume, right?
Yes, of course.
Well, thanks so much, Isaac, for joining us, and we'll see you. Catch up with you maybe next week.
All right.
Isaac Cass, MSGVarsity.com, boys soccer reporter, and he's one of the guys who has very heavy input into this, the 614 MSGVarsity.com rankings. So what are the 614 rankings? Well, our MSG Varsity on-demand channel is channel 614. It all ties together. So we're going to rank the top 6 teams, 1 team on the brink, and 4 teams to watch. Let's take a look at that 614 poll. There hasn't been too much movement early on, but Wallkill is a team that's worked their way in. They enter the bottom of the rankings as one of the Hudson Valley representatives. They jump ahead of Seton Hall Prep. Fordham Prep from New York City is in the mix as well. Smithtown West from Long Island, and Chaminade, after losing last week to St. Anthony's, is one of the teams knocking on the door at 9-1. Now our top 6, there is St. Anthony's from Long Island at 8-0. Mamaroneck 7-0-1. Greenwich, the team to beat in Connecticut. We mentioned, though, a big matchup with Staples coming up on Saturday. Put their undefeated record to the test. MLK, the top team in New York City, defending Class AA state champions, Arlington at 8-0, and I don't know if Arlington can ever do enough to knock off St. Benedict's, our #1 team in the Tri-State. They are 9-0. They've won 66 consecutive games. They are just 8 wins shy of the national boys soccer record set by a team from Massachusetts. They probably are going to do it. I have a feeling St. Benedict's is going to set that national mark. They already have the New Jersey record. They broke their own record from 10 years earlier. So that's going to do it for our show. I want to thank Isaac Cass for joining us. I want to thank our guys, Russ Raukin, Bob Stack, Brian Butler in our control room. And I want to thank you. Hit me up on Twitter at MSGVarsityKDJ. Talk about some boys soccer. Or you can email me, kdevaney@cablevision.com. That's going to do it for our show. We will see you next week on The Pitch. That's our Varsity Letters Boys Soccer Show. Thanks for joining us.